The Supreme Court of Appeal has ruled that credit agreements concluded by unregistered providers, such as the loan company, are unlawful, and similar unregistered providers must refund consumers all amounts paid, including interest. Consumers are also not legally bound to repay outstanding debts under such void agreements. The SCA upheld the original ruling by the National Consumer Tribunal against the loan company after it was found that credit provider had contravened several sections of the National Credit Act, including extending credit to consumers without being registered in terms of National Credit Acts. Now, to give us more information, let's have a quick conversation with Tebogo Ntsimane, Head of Investigations and Enforcement at the National Credit Regulator. Thank you. Thanks for coming in,
Thank
Tebogo.
you for having me, and good morning to all your viewers as well.
So, I don't know if there's an easier way of explaining this, because I know it's quite technical in how I described it, but
yes.
What is at play here?
What's at play is that it's a victory for the consumers, first and foremost. This battle, we've been on it for the past 5 years. And, you know, when a credit provider such as that contravenes to that level and also delays any form of, you know, reparations to the consumers, it shows that, you know, on principle, they're not really well-founded in terms of their business conduct.
Yeah.
And, you know, this matter obviously started at the NCT. At the NCT, we won flat out. And they then proceeded to then appeal this matter to the High Court. They lost there, and then they took again the appeal to the Supreme Court of Appeals. And this is where we're sitting. And that's why this judgment is very monumental to the National Credit Regulator, because it means that even those who are unregistered, we are now able to regulate, and they will face the consequences.
Fantastic, because the amount of consumers that fall victim to this is a very, very big problem.
And it's a very big problem.
I mean, I know, and you see this, you see it everywhere. Easy money, come to us, we'll, meantime,
I mean, it's
a problem.
Yeah, this was your classic pawn transaction,
Yeah.
you know. And I'll make an example so that our viewers actually understand what the implications of this particular judgment. You know, they were not registered with the National Credit Regulator. They then proceeded to advertise as if they were registered with the National Credit Regulator. They continued to extend credit under those circumstances. So if you pawned in your television that it cost you 5,000 Rand, your loan was only for 1,000 Rand, including their interest, obviously, then they would take that television and they would sell it for the full value and no form of refund to the consumer with the remaining balance of that particular 5,000 Rand. So they would take the entire 5,000 Rand. And this allows us now to look into the conduct of these pawn transactions. In terms of the common law, before it was like that. That was the practice. If you pawn in your jewelry, it's valued at 20,000. You owe the credit provider, let's say for interest sake, 6,000 Rand. She's going to keep the value of that. And there's some items obviously that depreciate, but there's also those that appreciate. So you find that the consumer is really left at the deficit. What we also like about this judgment is that now this particular company specifically has to refund all of those clients.
So that was what I was going to ask you.
Yes.
So that's just this specific company. So
Yes.
anybody who has a loan with this company,
Yes.
they're entitled to get their money back now.
Yes, that's correct. But remember, that will be at the time that we did the investigation.
And when was that?
That was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So hence I said we have been waiting for a long time for this justice for these consumers. And what would usually happen, or the process that follows, is that we would have to do an audit of the loan books as at that time. And then once we have established how many clients were there, through an internal auditor or an auditor that will be appointed and agreed upon by the two parties, then we'll be able to give those particular consumers the refund back.
So any idea of how much money we're talking about here?
I have no idea. I would
Okay.
have to get the auditors will have to.
We'll wait for that.
Yeah.
So as you're explaining to me, this is basically the loan company is like a pawnbroking business.
Yes.
Provides small short-term loans to consumers.
Yes.
In return, keeps their possession.
Yes.
Of their movable property. Does this really only apply to unscrupulous pawnbroking businesses, or is there more to it?
No, there's more to it.
Okay.
It actually says that now the regulator can now oversee every single transaction. Every single one of them. We've been doing it. It's not that the regulator has not been doing it, but specifically with pawn transactions, we haven't had a tight grip on it because of the common law factor. But with this judgment, it now dispels all of that. It basically means that if you're only entitled to what you are owed as the credit provider or as a pawn transaction company. So whereas before they would sell everything and keep everything.
Sure.
So now we are saying no way.
Desperate times.
Yes.
And that's what happens. You find that, you know, consumers are desperate. You'll do anything to get money, and then you fall victim to this. And then once your credit record is gone and you see yourself spiraling into more and more debt, because at the end of the day, you can actually never repay this debt. I mean, every minute of the day, it's getting higher with these interest from these people that are really taking you for everything you're worth, and you're not even worth that amount.
Exactly, and I want to caution even consumers that please do not fall for false advertising.
Indeed.
Do not, take your ID books there. Do not, if somebody says, I'm going to advance a loan to you, there's no pre-quotation or quotation statement that tells you how much, for how long, and at what interest. I mean, one of the issues that also came up in the judgment is that, yes, they were charging the 5%, but it was excessive. So they would include even more days. That means then you will never finish that debt because your interest continues to, increase. And for us, this judgment really deals with the crux of what the regulator stands for.
Yeah. So just finally, if I've got another minute, I can ask you a question. But I just want to educate consumers. What do we look out for? Because, as you say, I mean, this is a groundbreaking ruling. But what do I do if I am desperate for money? How do I ensure or vet that the place I'm going to is registered, it's above board, and I'm dealing with the right people?
Yeah.
What do I look out for?
Look, I mean, we've got our website that, every single day is updated. It actually tells you how many credit providers are duly registered with the National Credit Regulator. For credit providers, we've got window decals where it will tell you that they are registered. It should be outside the shop on the window. It must be displayed. And one of the other things is that just make sure that you also contact the Microfinance South Africa. They also have a list of their registered, credit providers or microlenders in that instance. And this judgment is not exclusive of your big banks or any other credit provider. I mean, if you do feel that when you look at your monthly statement, somewhere, somehow, your interest is not making sense or your repayment plan is not making sense, you can still contact the regulator so that we can do the necessary investigations. And we've got a very efficient call center, and that staff is doing a great job.
This is a very quick answer, but it's an important one. So the Supreme Court of Appeal's judgment has confirmed that credit agreements with unregistered providers are unenforceable in law.
Yes.
Does this mean that all credit agreements now with these unregistered guys are null and void?
They're null and void.
So everybody is, if you are not registered with the National Credit Regulator, we do not know who you are. You are unscrupulous and you're not conducting business in the proper way. Well, you've might have
contravened the act.
I think a lot of people are relieved at this point to hear some of this stuff. Please follow up on this. Make sure, firstly, that you do business with the right people and loans from the right place. But if you have been dealing with some unscrupulous lenders, you might be off the hook. Just investigate more. Tebogo, thank you.
No,
thank you for
having me, and thank you to all the viewers who have tuned in to hear this valuable information.
Very much so. Tebogo Ntsimane, Head of Investigations and Enforcement at the National Credit Regulator.